It's the 10 to 1 podcast with your host, Brad Oldman, featuring Ben Conowitz and Nate Laux. And here's the podcast.
Still would like to talk and maybe renegotiate my contract where I'm number 2 on that list instead of Ben.
I mean, you are the heart of this podcast, and you are number 1 in my heart.
Thank you.
Yeah. What?
Hey, I take your compliment. I receive it with joy.
Yeah, Nate and I have a long history. We've done stand-up comedy together. We've done improv comedy together.
Brad, you and
I met Nate because I knew his younger brother in middle school.
This isn't right.
Hey, Ben, let me receive this with a heart of gladness. Hey, guys.
Brad knew my younger brother. You know what?
It's the 10 to 1.
Fine.
It's the 10 to 1, boys. It's good to be back.
Hey, there's no new episode of Saturday Night Live.
Everyone's like, what are you guys doing?
What the hell are we doing?
You didn't watch the episode?
There was an episode?
Yeah, man.
Who was the host?
Garth Brooks.
With musical guest Chris Gaines?
No.
That's the secret.
No.
It was not Chris Gaines.
Not this time.
It was Bjork.
Yes.
Okay. I would actually watch that episode all day long. Garth Brooks and Bjork.
I don't even know what that would be like.
We did want to come back and have a special bonus episode to talk a little bit about some of the things, again, to give another episode. So there was a list that came out from EW, I think.
Yeah, Entertainment
Weekly. That had the top 25, 45, what was it?
25.
List of best cast members. And obviously...
Best cast members of all time.
Yeah. And... here's where I struggle with these lists is we are huge fans of SNL, but we're all roughly 40 and under, 41 and under, and there are segments of SNL that I'm more familiar with than others, right? And so we decided we're going to put our list together as well. And
now the top 25, according to EW, was impact on the show only. It didn't, according to them, it didn't take into account movie careers and general, vibe of being a famous person after the show. It was supposed to be just on the show, but they faltered a few times because they listed people that weren't really amazing on the show, but did definitely have these huge careers afterwards, and they still included them. So it was a little strange.
It's a good point though, Ben. Because some of us, I think we watch SNL so much and we're so familiar with the characters. Somebody like Adam Sandler, who honestly on their list was a lot higher than you might think.
Or lower.
But yeah.
More top 10 than top 20.
Yeah. And so you look at that and you think, well, that's odd because Adam Sandler is such a famous person. But you do look back at what Adam Sandler did on SNL compared to some of these other ones, and his career isn't as good as some of these other ones.
His resume
after SNL,
of course.
I mean,
you can't deny.
Top 5.
Top 5, right.
So
Eddie Murphy's another choice there. He saved the show, but did he do enough compared to what he did in his career afterwards to make him the number 1 cast member of all time at SNL? And that's kind of what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, Jerry Minor is another one.
Now, I'm going to say this. I messed with this a little bit because that list included best ever. I did not do best ever. My list is my favorite, my 10 favorite. Here's why. I have not seen enough of Eddie Murphy on SNL to know if he is better than Bill Hader. I have not. I don't know. Probably he's on the list at the top, but I can't verify.
You just haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
It would be like putting, Citizen Kane on your top 10 movies.
I'm sure it is.
I've never seen it.
I'm sure it's.
I have seen it, by the way.
Yeah. But I'm just saying,
very, very important.
So I struggle again with some of these things because Dan Aykroyd. I know a lot about Dan Aykroyd after SNL.
Sure.
And I'm not going to lie to you. This is maybe a hot take and get me canceled, right? You know what? Come at me. I don't love early seasons of SNL. I don't love them. I think they're okay.
Have you seen them?
I've sporadically, right?
Do you like laughter?
I do. I just
okay.
So for me, I started watching SNL.
I'm sorry, even the first episode is hilarious.
It's funny. I love 89 through probably 98.
And there are going to be
that for me is
it's a good point.
That for me, because again, that's when I started watching.
We do talk about that. Your nostalgia of when you started watching, probably in your formative years,
for sure,
probably 13, 14, 15 years of age, if you got to stay up late enough and you watched it. So yeah, for us,
so somebody that's an SNL historian might look and say Dan Aykroyd's a better cast member than Chris Farley was.
Absolutely.
Right? I don't, though, because for me, Chris Farley was better.
Gilda Radner is more impactful than Tina Fey.
Yep. So I say that as a caveat to my list, that my biases went into my list.
So
I did not try
favorite, not best.
Yeah, I didn't try to hide my biases to these. Now, I think Brad specifically, I think you have as well. You did see a lot more of the early episodes. I've seen. Peacock has a wonderful channel on their app where you can watch, and they essentially just cycle through every season and just keep going.
How many have you seen? Have you seen the majority of SNL, or have you
seasons?
Yeah, as far as the early stuff.
Yeah,
or just all of it.
I have the first 5 seasons on DVD.
And have you watched them?
Yeah,
yeah. I was gonna say I've seen every episode of SNL up until the
80s.
Ebersol.
Yeah,
Dick Ebersol.
Yeah, I didn't see maybe 3 of those.
Yeah.
So and then when Lauren
Martin
came back,
Short, you haven't seen Martin Short on SNL.
No,
we've seen sketches.
YouTube, right?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Ed Grimley. Yeah, but yeah, I had not. Charles Rocket, sure, he's a guy, right? I didn't even understand who was on that show at that time, but I saw the first Michael's era and the second Michael's era, all of them. So that has informed my list as well.
Yeah, and so again, you're going to have probably a more informed and probably more robust list than I will, because
also, by the way, makes it a lot harder.
Yeah, it does.
Holy
so
shit,
for me,
it makes it harder.
It's really 1990 on for me.
Yeah, wow.
Right?
Must have been real hard to do that.
Yeah, real nice, dickhead.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh,
so,
I will say
Ellen Cleghorn
I like to
and Rob Schneider and, who's the guy that did Mongo?
That's the Mount Rushmore of SNL for me, so be careful.
I would like to say there's also a caveat for mine. I included some Mad TV cast members.
Jeff Richards?
Mm-hmm. My favorite.
Or what about Damon Wayans?
All right.
Damon Wayans, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
He was on both.
Yeah, huge Damon Wayans fan over here.
All right, so let's get to our list. There are many that I did struggle with not putting on the list. I went to Wikipedia. They have a great Wikipedia list of every cast member that has ever been on. I went through from the years that I had watched that I felt at least a little more authoritative watching and picking, and I just picked like 30 people that I genuinely like them.
I just took the top 10 from the EW
list. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I just picked some random ones.
Yeah, it's so
Sashir Zameda.
Yeah, that's how I ended up with.
Don't hate on Shashir.
She's not a top 10, is what I'm saying.
That's how I ended up with Luke Knoll on my list.
Who's the guy on the Facebook Reddit group that guy still likes? Or not the Facebook Reddit, the Facebook group that guy always defends and wants back on the show?
John Lovett.
Shane Gillis.
Shane Gillis.
That guy posts about him a lot?
Yeah. He keeps saying he's the next big thing. He keeps like posting pictures of like him backstage with Dave Chappelle and just trying to suck at the teat.
And for
shout out to the Facebook group.
And I was going to say, and for all of you, literally everyone listening that doesn't know what the fuck we're all talking about right now, Brad is in a war. He's
come out of the shadows,
and I have won.
Brad has come out of the shadows.
Only just recently did I finally just like you know what? No, I'm.
But you know what? Like the dam broke, and you are now posting.
You are flooding.
No, so
those poor villagers.
There's a Facebook group called Saturday Night Live SNL Superfans. There's like almost 10,000 people in it, I think, something like that.
And genuinely do enjoy looking at the group.
Yeah, there's some fun stuff in it. But there's just one.
I am not a member.
There's just one guy. I'm not even gonna say his name because you'll probably find him if you just go, if you join the page and scroll through it.
Bad take.
Every single day. 5 or 6 different posts about SNL, and it's always some kind of hyperbolic thing. Best cast member of all time,
Robert Downey Jr.
Asking some kind of just basic question. He posted a picture like the other day with Shane Gillis and Dave Chappelle and everything, being like shouting on, being like, "Oh man, he's just the worst fucking opinions."
I mean,
anybody could ever have.
It would be
until now. Let me give you my top 10 list.
Be like, whatever happened to Bowen Yang? Wait, he's still on the show.
All right, so let's start. We'll do it just like we do on our other podcast, Go Flix Yourself. We'll start at 10. Each one of us will share our 10 pick, and then we'll go to 9 all the way up to number 1. We'd love to hear from you. Put in our comments from Facebook or on Twitter. I know some of you have already done that. We'd love to hear your lists as well. Also, I want to invite you to 10to1.com. We now have a website. You can go to 10to1.com, listen to any past episodes, these kind of things, find all the information about us, and go there as well.
And big shout out to our guy Nate Laux for putting that all together. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, he's a smoke all got. All right, let's start with number 10. We'll start with you, Bratty Bear. What do you have?
My number 10 is Andy Samberg.
Really?
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
For me,
Wow, that's actually surprising.
Yeah.
For me,
I do have him on my long list, but not my short list.
Andy Samberg made huge waves at SNL, and it's not necessarily because he played a lot of memorable characters or anything like that. But like, I'm considering this along with his work with The Lonely Island with Akiva Schaffer and Jorma Taccone because.
But you can only choose him though.
I know, and I am because for me, Andy Samberg is the de facto leader of The Lonely Island, and like he was the one who was a cast member on SNL, and The Lonely Island's SNL digital shorts were a game changer for Saturday Night Live. They brought Saturday Night Live into the modern age. It made Saturday Night Live huge on YouTube. Lazy Sunday was big and it helped YouTube grow because it was so popular.
Almost viral thing that happened. Yep.
And so if you've ever seen there's this series of documentaries. I don't even know how easy they are to find. You probably have to like pirate them online because they don't air them anymore and they never release them on DVD. But VH1 did this series of documentaries on SNL for like each decade.
Oh, that's cool.
And I remember Bill Hader talking about Lazy Sunday, and like that was how he discovered YouTube was a thing because someone sent him a link for that. Great documentary series. If you can find it, check it out. But yeah, to me, Andy's the SNL digital shorts like just completely revolutionized SNL for the modern age, and they're a big part of how the show is now. And just in general, Andy Samberg was funny on the show. He brought this very boyish, goofy energy, not like Adam Sandler, because it was more of like a kind of like a dim-witted, dumb kind of humor in a way. The kind of stuff that he's done on Hot Rod and stuff like that. And so I really liked Andy Samberg and what he brought to the table, and I think that a lot of people don't necessarily think of him being a key part of making SNL great, but he did for a long time, and you can still feel what those digital shorts did for SNL today.
Fair enough.
All right, what about you, Ben?
Kenan Thompson.
It's a good pick.
I mean,
he would have been in my top 20.
Guy has more at bats than anybody in SNL history, obviously. Single-handedly saved more sketches probably than anybody else in the history of the show. Led the cast through so many different transition periods where he's still the stalwart everyman. He's there. You never felt like the show was starting over because he's been there.
Yeah.
There's just so much to say about him. And then I've just never seen a better game show host on SNL history. I mean, he's incredible. Game shows are an enormous part of SNL, and he is probably the best host they've ever had.
I will say I think Bill Hader is a better game show host.
Bill Hader's good at it, really good. But when the sketch is faltering and you need to save it, who are you going to turn to? It's Kenan.
Ghostbusters.
I didn't choose anyone that's in the current cast. Did you?
No.
Yeah, so I didn't. That's interesting that you chose somebody that's in the current cast.
Wow.
He's the only one I think that you probably could.
Because he's been there for
literally 40 years.
Yeah. So you didn't pick anybody from the current cast. You didn't pick anybody from the first 5 years.
I have 4 seasons.
Is this all?
I have
Dana Carvey, Mike Myers, Adam Sandler, Tim Meadows, Chris Farley.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, that's everything.
Robert Smigel,
John Lovitz.
All right, I noticed you didn't name any women there. My number 10 is Amy Poehler, who was on for 8 seasons.
Ours are higher on the list, Nate. Don't put a woman last.
She's not the only woman on my list. Amy Poehler, who was on for 8 seasons.
Yeah.
She was a great writer, but also did a wonderful Hillary Clinton in the political seasons where I thought her and Tina Fey, when Tina Fey was doing Sarah Palin, she was doing Hillary Clinton. So good. It was a highlight in I think some of their political sketches.
If I did a top 12 list, she's literally on it. Like I was
Weekend
Update,
so she was really great, but she wasn't just Weekend Update. Like I struggled. Obviously, Norm Macdonald, great Weekend Update person. Like all these people.
Yeah,
I didn't pick people that were just Weekend Update people, but she did do Weekend Update and so much more. So I picked.
I think my favorite character she ever did was, and I'm rocking one leg.
Yes,
it's great work.
All right, let's go with number 9. Let's go to you, Brady.
Number 9 for me is Mike Myers. I think he's easily, one of the best cast members that SNL ever saw. He just did such a wide variety of characters. Obviously, he created one of the most iconic characters that SNL has ever seen with Wayne's World. And there's no denying his presence in the 90s really made it, one of the best casts, I think, of the entire, run of SNL. And he not only was he a great performer, but he was also a great writer. There's so many ideas, that were his on SNL that were, became favorite sketches. I love that his Simon character in the bathtub. There's one random sketch, I think it's on his best of Mike Myers, that I just love, is when he plays a kid with a helmet who's strapped to a jungle gym. And if he eats chocolate, he gets super hyper. Nicole Kidman was the host. I love that sketch so much. Yeah, the hypo.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite sketches. But yeah, there's so many Mike Myers sketches that I've loved over the years, and he's my number 9.
All right, what about you, Benny?
Kate McKinnon.
Good choice.
Not on the current cast, so maybe she's on your list as well. But it's I tended to stick with Keenan and Kate towards the top of the list, because clearly I've got some favorites that are really heavy here. But it's undeniable what she did for the show, and again, I guess I'm kind of leaning into this kind of rock solid presence that is just, no matter what, if she's in a sketch, you're automatically looking forward to okay, this is going to be a good sketch.
Yeah.
Even if it might not be.
When they enter the stage,
you're
when they enter the scene.
And Bowen Yang is on his way for me, personally.
There's a couple characters that are on their way, yep.
But, my God, you can't tell me that, the UFO stuff isn't some of the best of all time. I mean, those are all-timers.
Yep.
And she was a part of quite a few of those. Plus, her ability to partner with any other cast member. Her and Adie Bryant, for example. How many times did you laugh out loud at some silly, Whiskers Are We skit, or the meets at the Weekend Update desk or whatever? She's just such a highlight for the show in the last 10 years. Yeah. So that's why she's on my list.
All right. Mine, even though we didn't share these lists with each other prior to, was also Mike Myers, was number 9 for me. It is... Mike Myers is right at, or maybe a little after I started watching SNL when I was young. I think I was 10 years old when I started watching every week. And he defined for me, he introduced to me this idea of sketch comedy with different characters, very different impressions, very, these kind of things. Him and Dana Carvey both, but Dieter, who is the host of Sprockets.
Sprockets.
Linda,
Sprockets when we dance.
Linda Richmond, host of Coffee Talk. I loved Mike Myers, I think, very fondly. And then there was just even after SNL, there was a season for Mike Myers where he just was hitting it out of the park. And I think very fondly of Mike Myers in that season, too. All right, number 8, we'll go with you, Ben.
Miss Gilda Radner. So out of all the women of SNL, you could probably ask any woman that's ever been on SNL, and they would say, well, of course, the only reason that I'm funny at all is because Gilda Radner was funnier than me. And she was not only hilarious, but I've never, through all my reading about SNL, I've never seen anyone on the show that was more beloved than Gilda Radner. Everyone has this incredible history with her, and they hold her in such high regard, and it's for a good reason. She's a brilliant comedian, but clearly a perfect soul. She's just an amazing person. And she passed away obviously early in life with cancer, I believe. And there's this whole story about how Bill Murray picked her up and carried her through the annals of SNL, and everybody kind of knew it was for the last time. Just that kind of thing. You put people on Mount Rushmore in your head for a reason, and it was she was if all the cast members got together, she was the best of us. Yeah, and I feel like that's why she's on my list.
I will say one thing, because I don't want to necessarily discredit the greatness of Gilda Radner, but for me, there's a part of me that felt like, as funny as Gilda Radner was, there was part of the praise that came just because of how great of a person she was in real life, and not just because of the comedy. And that's fine, because that's that will happen from time to time. Because I do think Gilda Radner is very funny, but there was some stuff that she did on SNL that I was just okay, that's fine, just simple basic stuff.
I also put it out there that being the first,
yes,
is hard
for sure,
and for the first woman
Yeah.
To really break through. How hard would that? Like, I'm Chevy Chase and you're not. Cool. He's a 6'3" white guy in America.
Yeah.
Gilda is this tiny little nebbish, girl basically, and crushing it a lot of times.
For sure.
And she's very timid of everything I've read, and it still came through that she was that funny. So I think that it's just for the groundbreaking nature of it. That's why she's on my list.
All right. What about you, number 8, Brady boy?
My number 8 is Adam Sandler.
Son of a...
Oh, is yours too?
Sounds like Nate is too.
Yes.
Adam Sandler for me is just take into account like how young he was when he was on Saturday Night Live.
What was he, 22, 23?
Yeah, and just how quickly he became, a household
Pete
name.
Davidson did it too.
Like, the kind of person that like when they would appear, the audience would go wild. That doesn't happen often anymore. Like there's the respectful cheering that you do when there's someone comes in. But when people saw Adam Sandler come to the Weekend Update desk, they lost their fucking mind.
And that was one thing that Adam Sandler did is he reinvented a part of SNL, right? The Weekend Update bit. Yeah. Right, and not that they didn't do it before, but he brought new life to that.
Yeah,
and he did that, and he
did it as himself too.
Exactly.
Like he did some characters, but like
Opera Man, obviously.
Yeah, but a big part of his charm was coming to the desk and doing some silly, weird original song. That's where the Hanukkah song was born. The Lunch Lady Land, like this stuff that he did. These are just him doing silly songs, and it was hilarious. And on top of that, he was great in sketches too. I will never not laugh at Adam Sandler in Gap Girls, or Adam Sandler next to Chris Farley.
Boy gets
the Hurley boy.
Yep,
yeah.
Remember that sketch
Hank
where
Gelfand, is that right? The Hank, where Chris Farley, tells they're two old people. I forget.
Do you remember?
Kill me now.
Yes. Kill. It was a Zagat's review guide, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember also like you like the juice?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a one-off. And
exactly.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Do you like the juice?
I forget which character that was, but yeah. So he had. I think a lot of times people do just relegate him to a person that was really great on Weekend Update, but he did do some really great sketches.
Yeah.
As well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, all right, moving on. I'll go next because again, Adam Sandler was mine, and I want to say one before Brad gets to it. All right, number 7 for me was actually again recency bias. Kristen Wiig. I loved Kristen Wiig on the show.
You're yelling recency bias like she was just on the show.
Yeah, it's been like a decade.
But you guys are like, Gilda Radner, Charlie Chaplin.
Oh man, Charlie Chaplin was he was very funny.
So the first time I saw Great Dictator, I thought there's no way they make this a recurring sketch, and they did.
It's incredible.
Incredible.
And the Tramp?
Oh,
forget about it.
All-time character, right? Talk about Headwood Harry. Get the fuck out of here. The Tramp.
So Kristen Wiig was just brilliant. She was such a great character actor in there. I mean, and was willing to do anything. I have Kate McKinnon on the list. Again, I'll let you know that because again, kind of the same thing. But she was great. She was also very skilled at Weekend Update, her Aunt Linda stuff, and I loved her. Also, kind of, when she was on the show, kind of had a crush on her as well. She was funny.
Was she your Heidi Gardner?
No, I don't know if I've had a Heidi Gardner. But
okay.
You've got to, but.
Call me, Heidi. Call me.
The Porch Sitter that she's done. Some of these other ones, Target Lady. Just some great sketches.
Gilly.
I did not like Gilly.
I liked Gilly.
I liked it the first time I saw it.
Loved Gilly. Yep.
You know what? I really liked the Lawrence Welk show.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That was the tiny hands.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hilarious.
The one upper.
Oh yeah, the one upper. Yeah.
But the a-holes.
Yeah.
So yep.
Hey, babe.
That's my number 7. Let's go with you, Brad. Number 7.
My number 7 is Kate McKinnon.
Good choice.
You already talked about how great she is. One thing that I want to say that you didn't mention very much of is on top of having such great, doing such great character work, she was an incredible impressionist. There were so many
good
political figures that she played perfectly.
Giuliani. I mean, honestly.
Giuliani, Hillary Clinton.
And found a way to make Giuliani, because again, impressions can be hard. Found a way to make Giuliani still Giuliani.
I never knew
funny.
You could be like, oh, I'm going to play this guy as a straight up vampire. And it still sounds like Giuliani and is Giuliani. I don't know. The take that she took, right, was perfect.
Yeah, so I love Kate McKinnon. She will definitely go down as one of the all-time greats as time goes on. You know, she only just left last season, but she left an indelible mark on SNL, and she will definitely be remembered for a long time.
All right, Ben?
Adam Sandler. That's my next one.
All right. Anything to add to that we didn't?
No, I mean, honestly, you guys touched on it all. I will say he was so good at being the number 2 in a sketch that I think that he got overlooked a lot. Like Farley was always going to be the number 1.
Yep.
But the Hurley sketch isn't as good. And the Zagat's
that nervousness
he
and
needs,
that energy he brought to it.
And sitting there be like, kill me now. Like the straight man stuff that he did was really underrated.
Yeah.
That's all.
Because he found a way to do straight man in a funny way as well. It wasn't just
he was a
straight
bombastic straight man. And it's really hard to pull off.
I mean, the Boy Scout sketch, you know.
Oh, my God.
It's him mostly just making facial expressions while Alec Baldwin creeps on him.
What is going on here? Like,
yeah.
It's literally perfect. Like the reaction stuff. That's why that's an all-timer, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's a top 10 sketch.
All right, let's go with number 6, Mr. Herb Welch himself. I picked Bill Hader.
It was so hard for me to leave him off the list.
Yeah, same. He would have been. I actually have my next 5 after because I was trying to narrow it down. And I kept moving things.
Is Amy Poehler in there as well?
She didn't make top 15.
Really?
Yeah, she would have been top 20 probably. But Bill Hader would have been.
You say that a lot, Brad.
Bill Hader would have been number 11.
It would have been top 25.
Bill Hader, I just again
I get it.
Loved again. If you guys were doing probably the list that I was doing with the era I was doing it, you know, by the rules, you probably would.
If we neglected some of the best cast members of all time,
don't know enough about Gilda Radner.
Also, you don't really watch the show these days, so that's why you left off the current cast members.
I do watch it these days. There's just
I don't know. I mean, you said that there's no current cast member that's on their list.
On my list, no, there's not. So yeah, I love.
Oh, I can't wait for Cecily Strong to be your number 1. And you're like, not a current cast member. That's your. You
she's on the list somewhere.
You son of a bitch. Right. You leaned in so hard. Not on the show right now.
You're a little sneaky SNL snake.
Hey, Brad, what's your number 6?
My number 6 is Chris Farley.
Parnell.
Man, Chris Farley, like, what do I even need to say? Like, if you're a fan of SNL, you know exactly why Chris Farley belongs on this list.
That's why it's it's an insult.
Few comedians I think that you can say are.
You're fucking so. I'm sorry, but you're so fucking wrong. Like 6?
I'm not though. When you hear my top 5, Chris Farley, like few comedians are a force of nature, but Chris Farley, was one. He was a physical comedian. He poured like so much into like his reactions and just the way that he like the energy he brought to SNL. It was just on another level, and I think the reason that I didn't put Chris Farley higher is because he was around a time at SNL when SNL figured out something that worked and was funny. They did it over and over again, and a lot of times there wasn't quite the same variation as I think that there is in today's sketches that recur, because they do try and change up the formula in some way so it's not just repeating the same thing.
I do remember when Kristen Wiig as Target Lady was completely different every single time. That was awesome.
I didn't say I love Target Lady, so I'm not gonna.
He didn't put Kristen Wiig on his list.
So for me, Chris Farley is just he's great. The amount of like memorable sketches that he's done, there's sketches where like he's just in the background and he steals it just because he has the most like goofy expression on his face. I've always liked him very much.
Number 6, wow.
And
hey, on the EW list, he doesn't even make top 10,
and they're wrong.
I'm just saying. So Brad's not, the only one that
you're both wrong. You can both be wrong.
I didn't do the EW list.
I also think Chris Farley would have been higher if he was a writer.
Oh, sorry.
But he had stuff, written for him.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
He's a performer.
All right. Number 6 for you.
Will Forte.
How funny would it be if you say
Chris Farley?
Will Forte.
Really? Will Forte?
Okay.
I mean, he's on my other list. I have a list of others that maybe could be, but he's not on. I don't know if he'd be in my top 15.
I went back and I was starting. We kind of talked about like how you came up with your list.
Yeah.
I thought of people that I liked, and then I just looked top 20 sketches with that person involved. That's what I did. I went on YouTube and like top 20 Will Ferrell sketches, top 20 Chris Farley, just to see what would come up. And consistently, it reminded me of how many Will Forte was a part of that were just so fun. And then just through reading, the the unauthorized biography of SNL and all the articles and everything, just how much reverence again he had by other cast members who thought they say he's the funniest guy that they've ever worked with.
They did, yeah.
And so there's a lot of that in there, but I just remember the original 10-1.
I say he is a 10-1 cast
guy.
Member for sure.
He's the weirdest mother on the planet, and I'm here for it.
On EW on their list, he's 18, so
he's very brilliant.
Yeah,
and
no, I agree.
So the walk-run comparison obviously happens a lot, but like he walks so Sarah Sherman can run. Like he was weird before it was not. He was weird before it was like 10 minutes into the show.
Yeah, the hard thing about lists like this is the three of us could probably talk about 50 cast members and why we love them.
Oh, of course,
right? Yeah. And so there are many people. Bill Hader, I love Bill Hader. He's not on my top 10, but I love him.
Ben, you love Jim Brewer, so.
Well, he didn't until recently.
Why are you the way that you are?
All right.
We're having a good time here with friends, and you're just over here.
Number 6, did you share?
Nate, just shut up. So you're just over here fucking just shooting shots? What are you doing?
Bang, bang, bang.
All right, did you do number 6? I forget.
Yeah, I don't care. What it was number 6? Adam Sandler again.
No, my number 6 was Chris Farley.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Number 5. Let's start with you, Ben.
Kristen Wiig.
So you did pick Kristen Wiig. You looked at me like I was crazy.
No, I said you were crazy because you said recency bias, and it's been 10 years since she's been on the show.
Okay, but you looked at me as if I'm an idiot. And
no, because you literally said recency bias.
He also bashed Target Lady.
Yeah, he did.
I don't know. That's Gilly and Target Lady are two of the
2 sketches she did on the show,
and they're bad. Like I don't like them at all. Which means she's incredible because she's still on my list.
Boy.
She had so many.
Make your case for Kristen Wiig.
Kristen Wiig is probably, other than Kate McKinnon in recent memory, somebody who, when she walked out on stage, I was like, oh, good. This is going to be a good sketch. No matter what happened, when Kristen Wiig was on camera, I knew something good was going to happen. She also did benefit from one of the best casts of all time. The people she got to play with on that show were obviously
her doing stuff with Maya Rudolph and Amy Poehler.
Yep. Second to none. Like just incredible. So much like Kate McKinnon, if she had a partner in a scene, it was going to be good. Fred Armisen and her were fantastic.
She's number 13 on the EW list. So
she deserves a spot. She's incredible.
All right. What about for you, number 5?
Kristen Wiig was my number 5.
Add something to that he said.
Yeah. Hey, say more.
So for me, I think that with Kristen Wiig, I mean, one of the things that she did best were her original characters.
By the way, you know how much you guys suck? Almost everyone you've picked has been in the era that I talked about me watching so far.
What are you talking about? No.
Him.
Brad, who's your top 10 so far? 10 to 6.
Andy Samberg, Mike Myers, Adam Sandler, Kate McKinnon, Chris Farley, Kristen Wiig.
No. In the era that I picked to say these are the ones I'm picking from like 1990 on, you're like, oh, you guys, you don't watch anything.
No, absolutely, because those would be from that era, 10 to 6. The top.
So
5,
nobody in that era from 1990 is in your top.
The top 5 would not be maybe where we're
from
going.
1990.
Yeah, on.
There's one. I can guarantee you.
Yeah,
2 actually.
You know who's not? Chris Farley.
Yeah, that's moving on.
Makes perfect sense. But no, Kristen Wiig, I loved her original characters so much. You know, whether it was the hands girl on Lawrence Welk or the actress on Password.
Yes.
You know, she that sketch, no matter how formulaic it was,
forgot about it.
The way that she would just immediately say the word, just the tone of her voice, and like the way that she brought even a
automobile.
Cats.
It just reminds me of the automobile that I played on the stage show. It's just these rambling diatribes that were perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I love Garth and Kat too. It's just she was great. There's a reason she got the send off she did on SNL.
That's probably one of the nicest send offs I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Again, another person that seems to have been beloved amongst her cast members as well. Like, even though the biggest cast member on the show for many years that she was on, and people still loved her, right?
Yeah.
All right, For me,
who was it for you, bud?
Number 5 is a man named Dana Carvey. You guys might
I've heard of him.
But he was on the show from 86 to 93.
So was John Lovitz.
I do actually. I love John Lovitz. I really do. So Dana Carvey, again, another guy that one of the first impressions I remember on SNL is his Ross Perot.
Not got that.
No,
was that?
Yeah, that was Ross Perot.
Oh yeah.
Not gonna do it.
Not got that.
And then I got the charts. No, that was the Russ Pro. I got these charts and I got these, and then I think that George Bush Senior was.
And he got to ride Chris Farley.
Yep.
As come here, little piggy.
Yep.
And
it was the first impression on SNL I tried to do myself as well, like 10 years old, right? And so I loved Dana Carvey. I loved watching him. He was such a skilled impressionist. So funny. Again, kind of talking about the history of SNL, many people would say, again, when Dana was in, Lauren just tried to put him on literally every sketch because he was going to make the sketch better. Like, I don't care, Dana, get out there and do a circle somewhere, right? And people are going to love it. So he's a talented cast member. So let's go with you, Brad. What do you think? Number, 5?
I did my number 5. We're number 4 now.
Okay, yeah. So
hey, Brad, how about your number 4?
Yeah, let's go with number 4. Brad.
My number 4 is Eddie Murphy.
Mine too.
There you go.
So I just wanted.
Maybe you guys shouldn't just copy your list.
What was yours?
Cast member named Kate McKinnon.
Okay.
Let's talk about Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy.
Honestly, most of what I know about Eddie Murphy, I know from off Eddie Murphy's SNL career. I've seen so much Eddie Murphy movies. I've seen, I don't know a ton other than his most famous sketches on SNL.
Why it's a little tough because he. Out of maybe you disagree, Brad. Maybe Adam Sandler is this for you. The guy that had maybe a bigger career outside of SNL than inside SNL. It probably is Adam Sandler because Adam Sandler wasn't as impactful to the show as Eddie Murphy was.
Yeah, because Eddie Murphy arrived at a time when SNL
at
needed
19.
Eddie Murphy.
At
yeah,
19.
He was on from 80 to 84. He was on for 4 seasons.
That's crazy to me because when I think about what I was doing at 19 and what Eddie Murphy was doing at 19, I should have killed myself probably.
Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, he's just.
I'm just joking.
He was. Just incredible, to be that young.
It's impossible, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's impossible to be that young,
that confident, that funny, that skilled. He was just unbelievable. He carried a show that was, on the verge of death, and he still made it funny and kept it on life support enough that it could survive and still be what it is today.
We talk about Kristen Wiig walks out on stage. Will Ferrell walks out on stage. These people walk out on stage and you're like, oh, this sketch is probably going to be good. Eddie Murphy walks out on stage. He gets the thunderous applause of Adam Sandler, but also it wasn't a guess if the sketch was going to be good.
Yeah.
It was good because Eddie Murphy was in it.
And as we talked about first, too, Eddie Murphy was hardly the first black cast member on SNL, but I think that he was probably the first black cast member to really bring a black perspective to the show, and actually incorporate comedy that felt like it came from, a black person. Garrett Morris was obviously the first black person. He was one of the original cast members on SNL. But, it was at a time when, he didn't necessarily get the spotlight a lot, to do humor that felt like it was inspired by, his life or, being black or things like that. But Eddie Murphy was able to do that.
Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood was an enormously popular sketch.
Yeah.
And he leaned into, what white America thought of black culture. The Whiteface sketch is
amazing.
It's top 5 all time.
Well, I'm buying this newspaper.
Yeah. Well, no, you can just take it.
Just take it.
Yeah, nobody's watching it.
And also, Eddie Murphy, the only cast member to be a cast member and host.
Yeah, that's a crazy fact.
Yeah.
What
about you, buddy? Is it Kate McKinnon? That's my guess.
It is Kate McKinnon.
Yeah, you said it earlier.
Yeah, no. Number 3. All right, number 3 for me is Phil Hartman.
Wow.
That's my 3 as well.
Wow.
Loved Phil Hartman.
Okay.
What's your number 3, Brad?
My number 3 is Will Ferrell.
Ooh, dangerous. Okay, let's go back to Phil Hartman.
So loved Phil Hartman. Again, he could play the straight guy, but he was also a skilled impressionist. But also just, it's so funny, kind of like we talked about Adam Sandler bringing his own kind of style of straight person, kind of straight. Because again, being the straight guy doesn't mean you're not the funny guy, right? So
if you do it well, you're the funniest guy in the sketch.
Yeah.
Right?
There are current Alex Moffat kind of like, they could do straight kind of funny people in there.
Mikey Day.
It's so like he just did it so brilliantly. He also, Cecily Strong used to do this as well. His voiceover work.
You're number 2?
No.
So number
his
1. His
voiceover work.
He did a lot of commercials.
Was so skilled
like
and good. And so just remarkably talented.
Yep.
So
nope. 100% agree. Underrated impressionist. Straight man number 1. But you undeniably, if I think of any political impression at all ever, him as Bill Clinton, especially when he goes to McDonald's, that's an all-time sketch.
Yep.
That's when political humor, the impression is spot on because it's an exaggeration in the right way. Just so clever the way they did that. But my God,
he also did a really good Ed McMahon. Do you remember?
He did.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Who was Johnny Carson?
He did a good Frank Sinatra.
Come on.
Was it
Dana Carvey?
Was it Bill Hader?
Ugh, weird, wild stuff.
Yeah, no. Honestly, Phil Hartman, all timer, obviously. Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell
at number 3.
Will Ferrell was on SNL.
Will Ferrell
at number 3.
Yeah. So for me, the defining cast for SNL for me is the '90s cast. But Will Ferrell was a huge standout for me from the roughly mid to late 90s into the early 2000s. And his brand of humor just like really tickled my funny bone like during that time. Like he did just such a wide variety of characters, original characters and sketches that would just come out of nowhere and crack you up. I mean, the one where he wears the patriotic Speedo.
It's great.
And he doesn't.
I drive a Dodge Stratus.
Gosh,
like
the
that.
Dysfunctional Family is one of my favorite sketches.
Amazing. Also, Get Off the Shed.
Get Off the Shed. Yeah, seriously.
He did that in his audition.
One of the best things that Will Ferrell could do ever comedically, just the way he screams,
the escalation
will always make me laugh.
Yeah.
But on top of that, it's kind of incredible when you have a performer who can take an impression and that impression colors your perspective on a real person. And he actively made George W. Bush look more dumb than George W. Bush did.
We talk about how hard it is to parody the Trump era when it's so dumb that you're like, the Onion must be rolling in their grave right now. It's hard to parody the parody. He was able to do that. It was the last time that you saw somebody who was kind of in the national culture portrayed as a dumb guy, took it to the next level and still put a spin on it that was approachable.
Yeah.
And we all agreed, oh man, that's a really funny take on George W. Bush.
Yeah, exactly.
How?
There was a interview with George W. Bush about that impression, and he's like, and I got into an argument with somebody because they said, sir, strategery, you never said that. He said, yeah, I did. He said, no, you didn't. Yeah. Will Ferrell made that up. He said, no, that's my word.
Perfectly George W. Bush.
Yeah, exactly. Sarah Palin, Tina Fey did the same thing. Fact and fiction, just kind of.
I can see Russia from my house. Yep. Never said it.
A couple other ones.
Like that.
His Alex Trebek was brilliant.
Of course. And that was the anti-impression. It's not him trying to do an Alex Trebek.
Yeah. He didn't have to do it
kind of a straight man.
Yeah, exactly. And he didn't have to do much there. No. But it was so subtle and brilliant.
And honestly, so we talk about, people being in a scene together. Daryl Hammond deserves a lot of credit for that sketch. Their back and forth, of course, made it what it was.
And to just go back to talking about how great Will Ferrell was as George W. Bush. He was so good at George W. Bush that when Will Forte had to take over as George W. Bush, I actively disliked Will Forte for a little while because I was like, this is fucking terrible.
Isn't the same. And you feel bad for the guy, but it's not his fault, but also fuck this guy. Yeah, and I get it.
But Will Ferrell's my number 3.
He's on my top 10 list, Will Forte.
It's pretty good.
He also, again, Craig Buchanan, the cheerleaders with Sherry O'Terry.
Oh gosh, yes.
I mean, think about
Night at the Roxbury.
The iconic,
So my number 2 is Will Ferrell. Because I love that era. And Will Ferrell just you could have put him in every sketch and it would have somehow saved the sketch, and just so brilliant. He had, I don't know, there was a freshness when he came to the cast. It's hard when we've talked about this before, right? Sarah Sherman, right, is creative and crazy as she is. We tie her back to Will Forte, these kind of things, Will Forte was kind of similar to that. When I look at Will Ferrell, I don't connect him back to anybody before that, really. He was uniquely Will Ferrell, and just so groundbreaking and brilliant. And so
he had this, he's my number 2 as well.
No, he's not.
By the way, he is.
Is he really?
He is.
Wow.
And so uniquely physically gifted. Will Ferrell's 6'2",
something like that.
6'3". He's an imposing presence. He's also, he's a big white guy, right?
Yeah. The Culps. Do you guys remember the Culps?
Yes. One of the things I love about Will Ferrell is that he had the ability to either come in as the authoritarian or come in as the dope, or he could do that. And to your point, Nate, it wasn't this like, oh, I've seen this before, and he's an upgraded version of that person. Yep. He stood on his own and he created a lot of things from scratch. And I will say, to your point, Brad, I've never seen anybody go from, hey guys, let's just kind of hang out, to get off the shit.
Yeah.
In that way that made me laugh harder.
Yeah.
It's
because it wasn't chaos. It was dad. It was dad yelling, but it was
so hard. If you've never seen it, it's so hard to describe. Yeah, he's just screaming. No, it's not. It's nuanced and it's hilarious.
And there's timing to it too.
Oh, of course. So yeah, he's my number 2. Brad, who's your number 2?
My number 2 is John Belushi.
Oh.
And this is part of the reason why Chris Farley ended up a little bit lower on the list, because
you're wrong.
John Belushi, paved the way for Chris Farley for sure. But for me, I think what I like about John Belushi a little bit more, especially after in recent years, and hearing some cast members talk about Chris Farley's time on SNL, that Chris Farley necessarily wasn't super keen on always being the big fat funny guy, relying on his body for physical humor. Some like people like Bob Odenkirk didn't like the Chippendale sketch,
right?
And I think Tom Arnold even said at one point too that like Chris Farley like talked to him when the Chippendale sketch was a thing, that he kind of felt like embarrassed. He like, they want me to be the fat guy, and I do feel like there's some of that like I it's still funny, because he did lean into it and he did make it funny, and it wasn't always a joke about him being fat. A lot of it to me is the way he threw himself around. Even if he was skinny, if Chris Farley threw himself around that way, like that would be hilarious,
Anybody that commits that hard.
Yeah. And to me, what I like about John Belushi is he was seen as like a chubby comedian, and some people like saw him as being like the predecessor for Chris Farley and doing similar kind of things. But Belushi, I feel like, really carved his own path and knew what he wanted to do and like the kind of characters he wanted to do. Didn't necessarily like fall into the trope of doing physical comedy and stuff like that. But we're talking about doing stuff like Blues Brothers, Samurai Delicatessen, Little Chocolate Donuts, the Bumblebees, with the Wolverine sketch. There's all these classic sketches that Belushi did. He was just great, and he also had a real charm to him too. He wasn't he was also a very debonair, handsome dude who could easily go from being a goofy, physical comedian to being like a straight man.
I believed that when I saw him, he pulled off like, he could get a girl.
Yeah,
it wasn't Farley never had that persona. It was always the fat guy, right? Belushi, he was overweight, but that wasn't what designated who he was. Yeah. Now, obviously, in the 70s, being overweight, he was a fat guy in the 70s.
Yeah.
Farley was a fat guy in the 90s.
I wish I was as fat as John Belushi was in the 70s.
I know, right? Absolutely wish that I was as fat. I'm sure that if you looked it up, and I don't even know, Belushi was probably 5'10", 5'9", and he was probably like 185, right? 200.
Yeah.
And like, what a fat guy. Farley was 330 pounds at probably, 5'7", 8, 9, whatever.
When he died, he was 5'8", 222. Belushi.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say not Farley.
No.
I was that was my shocked face.
That's when he died, and he had ballooned a little
So
bit at that point.
5'8", 222. So 5'8", 200 is probably where he was. Little chocolate donuts. I would love to be 200 pounds. But yeah, to your credit and your point, he pulled off that debonair. He could have. I would have loved to see his career grow into like a kind of a suave guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
He had so much charisma. Agreed.
All right, number 1.
Chris Farley.
Yeah, of course it has to be Chris Farley because he was whining so much earlier.
It's okay to be wrong, Brad. It's fine. I mean, we're friends here.
You picked Chris Farley, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
I did too.
Did you really?
Of course I did.
Interesting.
You guys thought I was going to pick Cecily Strong in my top 10?
I honestly thought you were.
You guys are dumb.
No, I didn't think she was going to end up at your number 1.
Well, I mean, the further we got down the list, I thought. Well, yeah, because they're not on the show anymore. There's you little coy, beautiful.
And by the way, you picked one person that was not on the list of my list. Like, that was not like in the era of the people I picked. I mean, Gilda Radner. That's it. And you gave me so much crap.
Yeah, because you have no one.
So really, you only like Gilda Radner from the first like.
Oh no, I like Bill Murray was.
He's
right
fine.
there.
He's fine. Right?
He was right there.
He's fine.
No, I mean like
you didn't make him top 10.
Tossing around 11 through 15. It's like things like Hader, Murray,
same.
Chase.
But earlier
it's
you're
hard.
like, yeah,
Polar.
the reason I don't the recent people are on mine is because those early seasons are in my top 5. You didn't pick anybody from the early seasons in your
if
top 5.
you listen back, I did not say that.
You're what the Romanians call a hypocrite. All right?
Is that how they say hypocrite?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hippogriff.
Pretty good.
All right. Explain to me, sir, why you love Chris Farley so much.
So Chris Farley, I don't believe when you say he's. I know that Chris Farley wanted to be John Belushi. We all know that based on every interview you've ever read with Dan Aykroyd and anybody else about Belushi and who he was, and then any interview you read in the 90s or 2000s, 2010s, whatever, up till now about Chris Farley just wanted to embody that spirit of like, I'm the big guy that makes everybody laugh and everybody loves me.
Yeah.
He wanted that so much. What I think that people fail to realize is that not only was he very funny, much like a Kristen Wiig or a Will Forte or a lot of people on my list, he was literally willing to do anything. In spite of his trepidations about being the fat guy in sketches, did he not do those? He sacrificed himself.
Literally did sacrifice because I think he got hooked on some pain pills because of it.
Yeah. He threw himself literally into the sketches. He hurt himself for the show. I've never seen anybody die for SNL, and Chris Farley died for SNL.
Yeah, I mean,
died for the show.
Yeah, I think he certainly was willing to. I mean, it's so hard. Yeah.
The man sacrificed himself for comedy. If there's no other reason, then that should be why he's on the list, if not my number 1.
There's a lot written and talked about, right? It's so interesting. We've talked about cast members here, and almost to a T, all of them that were on the show in the same era that Chris Farley was on, if they are in an interview, pay attention, they'll almost always be asked about Chris Farley.
Of course.
Right? You've got Adam Sandler on. Adam Sandler. Hey, what was Chris Farley like? Right? Dana Carvey. Hey, what was Chris Farley
also,
like?
I'm sorry, if there's any interview out there where it's like, hey, Cecily Strong, what was Chris Farley's influence? I mean, they somehow they will reach to try to find, what you thought of Chris Farley.
So
he's that indelible.
He had such a remarkable.
Yeah.
I also, again, maybe my bias is as well because I'm so fascinated by the psychology of Chris Farley. I've read a lot about him. David Spade's biography obviously talks a ton about him. They were very close, as most people know.
By the way, my number 11, David Spade.
Was it?
No.
I mean, honestly, he's higher on a lot of. I was looking at lists.
No, my number 11 was Mike Myers.
Okay. He is higher really on a lot of people's list than I would have put him.
To include
David Spade had like one great thing on, and he was in a couple
Hollywood
sketches.
Minute.
Yeah, and he was in.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
that's fine. He was fine.
Yeah, if anything, like you said, he got the kind of the cross breeze of being in some great sketches with his friends.
In his era, I feel like he was the John Lovitz. Like John Lovitz was great on the show, and so was David Spade, but they weren't the breakout, you know.
So yeah,
but yeah, no, Farley, just my God, I've never seen anybody commit more to making people laugh, and I think that's kind of what it did it for me.
All right, what about
Brad?
you?
Well,
Brad,
let's just we
Ben
default to you here.
Picked Chris Farley.
It's Adam Sandler
which
again.
barely made your top 10. So, what's number one for you?
I went with Finesse Mitchell.
First of all, for you, those of you just joining us, I can't
Welcome
believe
to the show.
Chris Farley, number 10 for you.
He was not number 10 at all.
What was he?
He was number 6.
That's just like number 10.
Yeah, it's. Hey, he's closer to number 10 than he is to number 1
Yeah.
on your list.
No, that's what I say about Ben.
So Bill Murray.
No.
Dan Aykroyd.
No.
Hold on. Wait. Do your 10 to 2.
Andy Samberg, Mike Myers, Adam Sandler, Kate McKinnon, Chris Farley, Kristen Wiig, Eddie Murphy, Will Ferrell, John Belushi.
Phil Hartman.
No.
Let me see.
Phil Hartman top 15 for sure.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Tina Fey?
Wait. Have
No,
either
it
of
can't be
us
Tina Fey.
named him on one of our lists or them?
Yes.
Them. Gilda Radner.
No.
I named all of it.
Dana Carvey.
It's not my list. It's got to be Dana Carvey.
Dana Carvey.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, Dana Carvey for me represents the quintessential SNL performer, a writer, a guy who's good at impressions, a guy who's good at creating original characters. He just endlessly reliable. Could make any sketch funnier. Like I have rewatched so many of Dana Carvey sketches, whether it's his political stuff as Ross Perot, George H.W. Bush,
Big head wound hairy guy.
Church Lady, Wayne's World. Obviously, I'm a big Wayne's World fan. But like he played so many other people too. I mean, like his Paul McCartney is great. His Woody Allen is phenomenal. His Jimmy Stewart. Oh my God, I love his Jimmy Stewart. So many of his impressions. Like I love his impressions. Like so many of his impressions color like the people that I know, that like if anyone ever asks me to do an impression of people, I will do Dana Carvey's impression of that person.
No, and that's fair.
So yeah, Dana Carvey for me, and on top, like I like I said, Church Lady. I love Church Lady. I think Church Lady is hilarious.
Sure.
Garth Algar is a great companion to Wayne Campbell.
So I did the same. Did you do the same thing you did? 11 through 15.
Yeah.
Did you do that?
No, I've got an other list that probably has 10 people on there that I listed.
Because I really did write down.
I didn't rank them though, but I did.
No, I was joking around earlier about like Amy Poehler's my number 11, but I had like Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, Amy Poehler, Chris Parnell.
Yeah.
Was higher, and then Bill Hader were like all those like, oh my God, almost.
Yeah. My almost number 11, Bill Hader, 12, Gilda Radner, 13, Dan Aykroyd, 14, Phil Hartman, 15, Kenan Thompson.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Can I ask who is your most underrated performer? Maybe not the
on our list, or that
no, like,
that comes close enough to our list that most people wouldn't expect. Maybe
I just mean like for me, I have this answer because I wrote it down earlier. Right?
Okay.
Vanessa Bayer is probably one of the most underrated SNL performers of all time. She is absolutely hilarious. She gets no love when it talks about anything in the last 10 years of being top 10 person of the last 10 years. She's phenomenal, and she's the only person that hasn't hosted from that class, basically. Like, she needs to come back. She was phenomenal.
I would love to see her come back and host. That would be awesome.
I think she's supremely underrated. I also think that Bobby Moynihan is incredibly underrated as far as
I do love Bobby Moynihan.
He's so good in so many ways. We talk about this on this SNL podcast right now. We're talking about why we love so many characters, and a lot of the effusive praise we've been giving everybody here applies to Bobby Moynihan.
Yeah.
For me personally, sorry. When
I did have a moment of consideration where I was like, man, do I think Bobby Moynihan is top 10?
He shows up on stage, and I go, oh shit, I'm gonna love this sketch.
Yeah.
He can save his sketch kind of like Keenan.
Yeah.
He can.
The thing with Bobby
disappear
Moynihan
into an impression.
I struggle with. I can think of a couple sketches I really loved him in. It's weird because I think I have such high view of Bobby Moynihan, but I can't, like some of these other things. I can remember specific sketches, a bunch of them. Bobby Moynihan, I just remember loving when he was on.
Weekend Update is probably a lot, so that will skew you too. Because Drunk Uncle, of course, everybody remembers that. But do you remember him being on the most evil scientist in the world sketch with The Rock.
Yeah. He was obviously in the Tom Hanks Halloween one.
David S.
Pumpkins. But yeah, there's just so much that he's been in that is really, really funny.
So for me, probably an under kind of rated that I think is, again, I would probably put in my top 20 for sure, is Maya Rudolph.
Yeah.
I loved Maya Rudolph. So ridiculously talented. Could also, again, I didn't pick Cecily Strong as you guys thought I was going to. But Cecily Strong does have a lot of, we've talked about her last episode, very multi-talented, whether it was voiceover work, singing. Maya Rudolph had that singing element, and she could bring a lot of that to the stage, almost a Broadway-esque kind of, because again, she has a voice to sing. Her and Amy Poehler would play off each other a lot. That was really funny, I thought, and Tina Fey. Yeah. Like that was a very strong female cast that I just, again, Tina, Amy, get
Rachel
a lot of
Dratch.
Rachel Dratch is, yeah, exactly.
Anna Gasteyer. A lot of these people were.
Sherry O'Terry even has some funny stuff that she's done. So again, love Maya Rudolph.
What about you, Brad? You got any underrated performers you think about?
I think I would say Molly Shannon.
Oh yeah,
she was on my list.
Yeah, I love Molly Shannon.
And I am embarrassed because I really did forget about her.
Wow.
But that's, I don't know, like building this list, I didn't even think about her. And she'd be top 15.
I'll read my list real quick of the others that I put, because again, I went through all of the list from 1988 or something and went down the others that I didn't cut out. I did cut out some, but Molly Shannon, Tracy Morgan, Tina Fey, Rachel Dratch, Maya Rudolph, Will Forte, Kenan Thompson, Andy Samberg, Bobby Moynihan, Adie Bryant, Cecily Strong, and Kyle Mooney. So
no Jimmy Fallon?
No.
Weird.
But again, I did put Kyle Mooney on there just because I love Kyle Mooney so much.
I know you do.
I do.
But how do you put him on there without Bennett?
It would be a hard one.
It's tough.
Yeah, they gotta be a team.
It's a duo.
A team.
So I know I'm gonna put you on the spot here, boys. Who's your favorite host of all time? We did top 10 SNL cast members of all time. Do you? And you might not have one. I haven't even thought about this. I'm coming up with this question right now. Do you have a favorite host of all time?
Okay, I have a favorite host that I've loved.
Okay.
Almost every episode, maybe every episode they've done, and it's Justin Timberlake. I love Justin Timberlake.
That's a very fair. I think that for me, longevity-wise, I think John Goodman,
another great,
is probably my favorite.
Yep, that'd be hard. I would love to see John Goodman come back.
It would be amazing. The hosts that have actually come back through the years, the decades, even Steve Martin.
Steve Martin did a great.
Alec Baldwin, which with the whole Rust shooting and everything, I'm not sure we'll ever see him again. But for now, he's an all-timer, right? But John Goodman, I just remember the Linda Tripp stuff.
Yep.
Wow. That's really 90s Goodman.
Yeah, some of those cast members that they could have done this show if they wanted to.
Absolutely. Right? Oh yeah.
Tom Hanks and Christopher Walken.
Great.
Walken.
Great. Yep.
Great choice. Yeah. Hanks, whatever.
Shut up.
I'm just joking.
What a piece of shit.
All right. Well.
Did we do it? That's great. We'd love to hear from you. What are your top 10? Again, let us know in the comments.
Who did we screw up on? Like honestly.
Yep.
You tell me.
Make fun of us. That's
why.
Fine.
I didn't. So I didn't include Mike Myers or Dana Carvey in my top 10, and I think that
that's still nuts that you didn't.
You both had both of them in your.
We did
list, right?
And you're the only one that had Gilda Radner in your list.
Brad did too.
No, she was on my 11 through 15.
In your 11 through 15.
No, it was his number 6.
No, that was
I know, Brad. I know it was.
But so we'd love to hear from you again. Who did we miss? Maybe there's a glaring omission on some of these things that we didn't get. You go to also go to our new website 10to1.com and find us there.
Is that TENTOONE.com?
Yep.
10 to 1.
10 Toonie.
Hey Brad, when's the next new episode of SNL come out? Is there a new one ever? Again?
So if I remember correctly,
which you don't,
we saw the schedule for SNL behind Shaun White when he made a cameo, and someone took a picture backstage, and I think that they'll be back on January 21st.
All right, so this will probably be all you get until then. Help us out. We're growing on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Thank you to all of the new Austin Butler fans that found us. He is a dreamboat. We agree. And you can find us pretty much anywhere on any podcast subscription site. So thank you so much. If you could rate us as well, it helps us get kind of out there a little bit more. If you're a fan of SNL, share this as well with your friends and family. All right, guys. You can find us online on Twitter and Facebook. You can then go to the 10 to 1 pod on Twitter and find all of our rest of our individual ones. We'd love to interact.
Mine is the funniest. It's not. It's really not.
Brad has the most people.
Yep.
All right. Thanks so much for listening. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. Bye-bye.